Sometimes fear just invades. It overwhelms your mind, conquers your thoughts, and holds them captive. I'm Shannon Lenz, your spiritual fitness coach. I know what it's like when fear and worry relentlessly assault you. I know that panicked, helpless feeling when it seems like there's nothing we can do except be victims to the thoughts that permeate our minds. But is it really true that there's nothing we can do? Isn't there always something we can do? When we go back to the Bible, we see example after example that the best response to fear is prayer. Take the story of Hezekiah, king of Judah, for example. You can read all of Hezekiah's story in 2 Kings 16 through 20, 2 Chronicles 28 through 32, and Isaiah 36 through 39, 8. Hezekiah's father, King Ahaz, was a wicked ruler who acted more like a pagan king than a king of God's chosen people. He even sacrificed his own son as a burnt offering before pagan gods. Thankfully, Hezekiah's story is not a like father, like son story. Hezekiah could not have been more different than his dad. In fact, Hezekiah had more in common with King David than he did with King Ahaz. 2 Kings 18 describes him as a king who did what was right in the eyes of the Lord. Rather than inviting paganism and idolatry into his kingdom, Hezekiah kicked it out. Most importantly, Hezekiah was a king who trusted in the Lord. 2 Kings 18:6 says, "For he held fast to the Lord. He did not depart from following him, but kept the commandments that the Lord commanded Moses." But during Hezekiah's reign, Assyria threatened to invade. You see, during this period of time, God's people had been broken up into two kingdoms, Israel in the north and Judah in the south. Hezekiah had only been king of Judah for 4 years when the Assyrians attacked Israel. Hezekiah would have been well aware of the fall of his brothers to the north, and he would have known that their exile was judgment from God for their faithlessness to him. The prophets warned and warned that this was going to happen if they did not turn back to God. After carrying the Israelites off to captivity, Assyria eventually set its sights on Judah as well. 2 Kings 18 describes how Assyria began to besiege the fortified cities of Judah, and one of the personal assistants of the Assyrian king gave a mocking, taunting speech aimed at getting Hezekiah to cave and surrender. Can you imagine the fear and worry Hezekiah was probably feeling in that moment? What was he going to do? He knew full well what Assyria was capable of, and they had already captured Judah's fortified cities on the western edge. Hezekiah must have felt completely helpless. There didn't seem to be anything he could do to stop the onslaught and save his people. But Hezekiah didn't sit around and do nothing. He did 2 things. First, he sent word to the prophet Isaiah and asked him to pray for the remnant left in Judah. Second, he went up to the house of the Lord and prayed himself. "O Lord, the God of Israel, enthroned above the cherubim, you are the God, you alone, of all the kingdom of earth. You have made heaven and earth. Incline your ear, O Lord, and hear. Open your eyes, O Lord, and see, and hear the words of Sennacherib, which he has sent to mock the living God. Truly, O Lord, the kings of Assyria have laid waste the nations and their lands and have cast their gods into the fire. For they were not gods, but the work of men's hands, wood and stone. Therefore they were destroyed. So now, O Lord our God, save us, please, from his hand, that all the kingdoms of the earth may know that you, O Lord, are God alone." And guess what? God heard their prayers. 2 Kings 19:35 records that the angel of the Lord went out and struck down 185,000 Assyrians while they were sleeping. The Assyrians woke up to find that they were defeated. Here's your challenge for today. When you face worrying circumstances, when fear threatens to invade and hold your mind captive, do what Hezekiah did. Pray and ask someone else to pray for you too. After all, prayer is what Paul in Philippians 4:6-7 prescribed for anxiety. He wrote, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus." Now, go pray and win today.